Just introduce yourself and what you're running for Alabama and what made you run.
Yeah, my name is Ashley Sharpe. I am running for the state senate for District 22. I just got involved in politics a little over 12 years ago. I grew up very religious. I'd never really paid attention to politics. I kind of just did whatever my family told me. It wasn't until 2015 that I really started and thought, I'm gonna really look into this and see what's going on and see what I actually believe, because I turned 18 in 2010, so 2012 would have been my first presidential election. At the time, I voted for Mitt Romney because I was a Republican at the time. So 2015 was really when I was like, okay, I'm going to stop, just going with whatever my family says. I'm going to really figure out what's going on. And that's when I was like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. I didn't know that politics was so corrupt and that there was a lot of bad actors in it. I mean, I kind of probably assumed, but I didn't know anything. I was very naive going into it. When I really learned about what I actually believed, the people that I love and care about and what would benefit them, that's when I was like, okay, this is where we need to switch up a little bit and really see exactly what I can do. Because I am someone who, when I see something that I don't like or that I disagree with, I'm very opinionated. I like to be involved. I like to be able to do something about something that I see that I don't like. Ever since then, I've kind of just slowly been getting involved. And at this point, I think I was just like, okay, I'm ready to run. I'm ready to do something because this is just, it's getting out of hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think at this point was when I was like, okay, I'm ready.
So you started Republican. What
Yeah.
made you transition into the Democratic Party?
So I don't love the hold that the Republican Party has on religion and Christianity. This idea that if you're a Christian, you vote Republican. At the time, I had a very eye-opening experience of everything that I was taught growing up, of loving your neighbor, accepting others, being kind, helping people that need it. It was the complete opposite of what I saw from the Republican Party. And I in 2015 was planning to vote Republican. I watched the Republican debate and I was like, okay, so and if you remember the 2015 Republican debate, there was like 20,000 people on that stage.
Yeah.
And so I was watching all of them and I was just like, none of them are saying things that I grew up learning in church and in school and in Girl Scouts. And I've kind of always leaned towards service, and that was complete opposite of what I saw from the Republican Party. And so I really dug into the people that I liked, that I cared about their opinion, people that were like in the civil rights movement, and people that were
Of a different religion.
Yeah, of different religions, that I, cared about their opinion and I cared what they had to say. And even if they were a different religion, the things that they, that's like a whole other thing to go down. A lot of religions, I mean, it's the same. You want to care about people, you want to love people, you want to be kind to the earth and kind to
we see people like Tommy Tuberville putting a spin on it to where he is equating radical Islam with Islam in general, which is disgusting to see.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So let's roll into the questions. Do you support full repeal of Controlled Substances Act, the 1970 federal law that classifies drugs into schedules and criminalizes substances regardless of actual harm, and the Anti-Drug Abuse Act, which is the 1980s law that imposed mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses?
I do actually support a repeal on that. I don't believe that the way that it is right now with the scheduling, there's a lot of talk about how it prevents crime and it's hard on crime, but really and truly, it's not actually preventing crime. It just is moving people into one specific area, and that is incarceration. And so I definitely agree with repealing that act and descheduling most, if not all, those drugs. And
Should adults have the legal right to grow cannabis at home for personal use, similar to home brewing alcohol?
I agree with homegrown. If you want to home grow it, that is absolutely your right to. It should be your right to do that. I don't love the pharmaceutical industry. I think that regulation would be good in some way. There should be some regulation of, you know, making sure what is being sold is safe. But I don't think that it should be heavily regulated to the fact that it is benefiting the pharmaceutical industry over the needs of the actual people that need it and benefit from
If
those.
cannabis is legalized or rescheduled at the federal level, will you support automatic pardons and expungement for victimless cannabis offenses, meaning possession, use, or consensual sale where no person was harmed and no property was stolen?
Absolutely, 100%. If we are going to talk about legalization, decriminalization, descheduling, we need to be fair to the people that have already been victimized by these laws and repeal, commute any sentences that are for nonviolent drug possession or anything like that. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with homegrown. I have no problem with growing your own vegetables. I have no,
Yes.
if you can grow your own vegetables, grow your own food, you should be able to grow your own medication if you want.
It's no different than a basil leaf.
Exactly.
Do you support decriminalizing and eventually legalizing other drugs to undercut the illicit market, allow quality control, and shift addiction from punishment to treatment?
Yes, I do agree with that. I very much agree with switching our crime prevention outlook into rehabilitation instead of punishment and incarceration. I I think that true crime prevention is helping people get back on their feet and being able to do the things that will benefit them and their families. I don't believe that people are inherently bad and evil and want to do crime. I'm sure, obviously there are some people out there I don't
Typically,
I
in
don't. Yeah, I don't
higher
think.
ends
Yeah,
of our government.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's I do believe in psychopaths for sure, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I don't think that the average American wants to do crime just to do crime. A lot of crime is it happens because of poverty issues, because of addiction issues, and if they are able to get the help that they need, then that is the route to crime prevention that we should be taking instead of just forcing them away from society and further continuing the cycle of criminality. Because you see in so many instances, they go to prison, they go to jail, and they become better criminals.
Yeah. 100%. And then it's just a vicious cycle of
Yeah,
crime and
yeah,
punishment and
yeah.
punishment and crime.
It's because that's what they're being taught.
Yeah.
It's what they're being taught is what gets them what they need and what they want.
Yeah. And everybody's seen that HBO documentary at this point.
Oh, yes,
or if
definitely.
you haven't, you should.
Yes, absolutely.
So moving on to criminal justice and prison reform, do you support abolishing mandatory minimum sentencing, laws that force judges to impose fixed prison terms regardless of circumstance for victimless offenses at the federal level?
I do agree that there needs to be some pullback on mandatory minimums because there are so many nuances to why people do what they do, why people commit crimes, so on and so forth. So I do agree that mandatory minimums are usually not used correctly, and they are not usually beneficial to anybody in that situation. So I wouldn't mind. I don't know whether or not I would fully repeal mandatory minimums, but there definitely needs to be some sort of look
Pullback.
into exactly
Yeah.
what it's doing and how it's benefiting others.
Should prison ever be the default response to victimless crimes offenses where no one was harmed and no property was taken?
No, I do not agree with that. I do not agree with victimless crimes being punished by incarceration. There are so many things that we could be doing with rehabilitation, with making sure that people are getting, again, the help they need in any facet of whatever their crime was, that they are getting what they were needing in that situation. A lot of people, I think, just would benefit from being able to get the help instead of being demonized and placed into incarceration. So no, I do not agree with incarceration for victimless crimes.
What percentage of the corrections budget should be redirected from incarceration towards treatment, rehabilitation, and reintegration?
So I'm not really a math person, so I'm not exactly sure percentage wise. I do think a lot of funding needs to go and be rearranged into focusing more on rehabilitation over incarceration.
How would you want to quantify it? How would you want to audit this system to see where the inefficiencies of the prison system is, and then allocate the funds? Think about it that way.
So I think bringing in criminal justice experts, making sure that we have what we need to be able to make changes that benefit the most amount of people. And I think being able to reallocate funds to like rehabilitation and other areas. I think that there are a lot of people that could weigh in on that, and experts in the criminal justice system, experts in financial
We'll move on
stuff. Yeah.
Do you support intentionally reducing prison populations by this is a little bit redundant. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to healthcare. So we're moving on to healthcare. Do you support expanding Medicaid, the joint federal state healthcare program for low-income individuals, before conducting a full audit of waste inefficiency and billing practices?
I do, actually. There is waste and fraud and abuse in every system of everything. So deciding to wait until we figure out exactly where the waste, fraud, and abuse is before we actually help people is just not helpful, because they get into the point to where they're like, we need to find the waste, fraud, and abuse, and they will continue to do that without actually helping the people that need to be helped with it. And they will continue to do that because they want you to believe that they will eventually get to it. But I don't think they have plans of actually ever expanding Medicaid when they talk about how we need to first look at waste, fraud, and abuse first. So I think we should help people that need to be helped first, and then we can weed through the waste, fraud, and abuse as we go. Because, I mean, it's going to happen. There's no way of stopping all waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think until we can have some sort of accountability on the waste, fraud, and abuse that we see from corporations and big money, we shouldn't be harming actual American citizens over the thought process that they might be wasting or frauding the government.
That was good.
Thank you.
So how do we move forward in actually auditing it? Because you say they, but you're intending to be a part of this system that legislates for the healthcare. What specific things do you think you could do to help healthcare? One, limit how did you put it?
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. How do you think we can limit waste, fraud, and abuse while also helping our citizens get the care that they need?
I think there's also are already systems in place to monitor waste, fraud, and abuse, and I don't think that there's really anything that we need to do extra to make sure that there's waste, fraud, and abuse being detected. There's already, uh, you know, the IRS. There's already all of these federal systems that are checking in on waste, fraud, and
But are they
abuse.
really?
I think that they do a very good job at finding it when it comes to the American people because they can criminalize it. They're not finding the actual waste, fraud, and abuse that is usually coming from the healthcare system and the pharmaceutical industry. So, I mean,
What do you believe the primary driver of inflated healthcare costs? Insurance middlemen, hospital pricing practices, pharmaceutical monopolies, regulation, or administrative bloat?
I think pharmaceutical industry and private insurance companies have been benefiting for decades on the need for healthcare. And I think once we take them away and once we stop letting them decide prices of medication and kind of going back and forth on who can make what medication more expensive, and once we take that out, I think being able to have Medicare and Medicaid and healthcare for I'm a big Medicare for all person. I think everyone should be able healthcare should be a basic right, and we should be able to have that, and we should be able to go to a doctor, get the medication that we need, and get the help that we need in any facet of the healthcare system. And it shouldn't be decided by random people in the insurance business that are deciding whether or not your insurance can cover your bill like that.
So my
It's
pushback to that would be
counterintuitive.
that doctors already have the Hippocratic Oath,
Mm-hmm.
so they already have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But universal basic health care
Mm-hmm.
would effectively, it would overload our hospitals to the point where we can't give care to our citizens. So if you do universal basic health care, that includes anybody that's here illegally, and then the people that are here legally can't get the care that they need. So that is the pushback from the right.
Mm-hmm.
How would you combat that?
So I think that there could be a lot of issues with that, especially with the fact that we are closing down so many hospitals, so many rural hospitals. I think it's gonna I think it's gonna work itself out. I think when you're able to have the healthcare that you need, we are able to go when we need it, and go and not go when we don't need it, and we don't have to be filling up ERs because there's already a lot of people in the ER. They can go to the ER and get the help they need, but they are filling up the ER instead of going to a primary care doctor, to going to different doctors that you can go to instead of going to the actual hospital.
Um, so the thing that I'm thinking of is, say if Alabama as a state gave health care to everybody, and people from Texas were flying in to have procedures that they wouldn't typically have in Texas because they don't give the same healthcare benefits. How do you suggest we keep from that happening on a international scale? So people from Mexico flying in to get care that they typically wouldn't, footing us with the bill, footing our people with the labor costs that are associated with giving these people these procedures, these types of care, these XYZ.
I think that there can be some regulation on who is able to get that health care. I mean, again, I'm not a healthcare expert, so I don't know the ins and outs of the healthcare system.
That's fair.
But I think there can be regulations of making sure that the people that are getting this healthcare, these vouchers or any sort of healthcare help, that they are citizens of and residents of Alabama. If it's just an Alabama thing, if it's like just Alabama that does it, then it should go to Alabama residents first.
Okay. Do you support repealing or reforming certificate of need laws, state laws requiring government approval before new hospitals or facilities can expand or open?
I am not really. I'm not really sure about that. I think federal government should be able to have some sort of regulation on how we're using, our healthcare like the not subsidies, but like the money that we get from the federal government. However, I do think states have the right to be able to see the need that they need, see the need that is happening, and be able to make their own decisions on where that need needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is restricting competition here,
Yeah.
because if you have to go through 3 different agencies to get the approval to open one hospital, then why do we have those agencies? You know what I mean? Like there needs to be a quicker, faster way for people to be able to put up hospitals if we were having to close our rural hospitals as it is.
Yeah.
There's too much bureaucratic bloat, in my opinion.
Okay, I can understand that.
Would you support alternative healthcare funding sources, such as lottery revenue or cannabis tax revenue, to reduce reliance on federal spending?
See, and that is where the idea of affordability of healthcare can be subsidized by a lottery. We need a lottery in Alabama. Our money is literally flying out of the state when it comes to people going across the state lines to Florida and Mississippi and Tennessee and Georgia. We need a lottery, and that lottery can bring in so much more revenue that we can give to the healthcare system. We can give to the education department. We can use those public dollars for public funds. And it's very important that we have that, and especially also cannabis revenue.
Yeah.
I agree with legalization of making it, regulated and taxed. I think that would be incredible for.
I'm glad you said that about the lottery going out the back door to each of our surrounding states, because it is. But I want to draw a comparison to anybody listening. The same thing is happening with cannabis. Cannabis is a crop that could be produced in Alabama that could produce a lot of tax revenue. And right now, our dollars, no matter where you want to see it, even if it's illegal, our dollars are going out the back door to people like Mexico, Venezuela, anywhere else that you can get drugs. So if people are going to do it, why not regulate it? Why not make it a part of the system and make it to where people can be supported if they want to pursue these types of things? Why are we not capitalizing on this revenue that is going out the back door and hurting our citizens?
I agree, and we can, stop killing random people that we think is bringing over drugs in random boats in the Gulf.
The war on drugs is one of the worst things that's ever happened to us, because number one, it increases violent crime. It makes it to where there's just the rebellious factor where people want to do it more now that you say that they can't do it, and then it creates the prison system that we have right now that preys upon the low income, the black, the minorities, and then puts them into a prison system that then profits off of their labor. And so it's a vicious cycle of taking them off the street, like you said, making them into better criminals, putting them back on the street, and rinse and repeat. And it is a form of propaganda and modern slavery.
I agree. I think that is the exact purpose of it. They needed a new reason to have slavery. It was apparent when they repealed the 13th Amendment that was then when we saw a spike in crime and a spike in incarceration, and that's because they were able to switch that from slavery to, oh, we're incarcerating people that are hurting and killing our families. So yeah, it was purposeful. It is institutional racism. It is a continuation of slavery for sure.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We're going to transgender policy, like I
Okay.
said.
Yeah.
This is mostly to appease the people in the fucking Loxley community.
Right. Because this is very important.
Yeah.
Very important stuff. Very, very.
That's why it's last on the fucking list.
Yes,
Transgender
very,
policy.
Very important.
Do you believe the federal government should mandate or protect access to gender affirming? Let me read that again. Do you believe the federal government should mandate or protect access to gender affirming medical interventions for minors, including puberty blockers or hormone therapy?
I think that they should be able to protect what is decided between a patient and their doctor. I think there are counselors, there are doctors. When people decide that they want to go on puberty blockers, they have a list of things that they need to do before they can actually get the puberty blockers. They have to go to counseling. They have to see a doctor. They have to, do blood work and tests and all kinds of stuff. And I think that a patient, their family, and their doctors are fully capable of making those decisions themselves.
Do you support age-based limits on irreversible medical interventions for minors?
I don't see that as an issue. We already there's no such thing as a minor having like gender reassignment surgery. And I know that there was something else that they could use gender reassignment surgery for other than transgender patients. But there are not transgender patients just going into a hospital and saying, hey, I want gender reassignment surgery right now. And they get it. And they're like 16 years old. Yeah. They there's this idea that these kids are 15 years old, go to school, they get snatched from their classroom, go to a hospital and get their penis chopped off. And it's like that's not happening. We do not have minors having gender reassignment surgery. I think that doctors and family members and the patient are able to make decisions on their own.
At the same time, you don't want any kind of the right will say that somebody out there is trying to make their kid change sexes before the age of 18. In my opinion, my humble opinion, I believe that the age limit on irreversible medical interventions for minors should be that you have to be 18 in order to make these decisions. And after that case, you're an adult. You're a consenting adult that is choosing to change their gender. Right. And it's not on the parent. The parent should have no say-so, like you said. It should be between the doctor and the patient. But the actual irreversible part shouldn't be able to be made until the time that they are known by the federal government to be a consenting adult. Right.
And I agree with that. I don't think that you should be able to have reassignment surgery literally changing your body composition before you're 18. But the thing is, the problem is that's not happening especially not at an extreme rate. I'm not sure the actual, one person, two people, three people, how many people this has actually happened to. But
so we agree that you have to define it.
Yes.
You have to cut that off at 18.
Yes.
So that is what the right is going to be looking for.
Yes, absolutely.
But I agree with what you're saying because the federal government and if you don't think this is the case, then you're naive. But the federal government plays upon the right's fear, the fear of religious fanaticals. So 9/11, you can see it in Tommy Tuberville's everything that he does. Everything is Islamophobic. So they're coming for us. The enemies are within the gates, or literally what he says. And so that type of rhetoric cannot be in the United States as it stands right now without pitting us against each other. Similarly, this whole idea that there are parents out there that are actively trying to get their kids' penis chopped off and go through these gender reaffirming, whatever the fuck you think is going on, is a propagandist thing. There might be fringe, and we all can agree that consenting adults need to be, that is where the limit is at a consenting adult. However, like she had said, it is not happening in the volume that you think it is. That is what your algorithm tells you. That is the fear that they are playing on to try to get your vote for the Republican Party, especially in Alabama. Should doctors or researchers who question prevailing gender-affirming treatment models face professional penalties?
I don't care about questioning. If they have questions, if they have concerns, if they want to do their own research or whatever. But I think that the research and the research that we listen to should be whatever it is that helps the most amount of people and harms the least amount of people. And I think that's what is important to transgender people, is they are able to get the help they need. They are able to go through the process. Again, they go through counseling, so it's not just their parent tells them they want this to be done and they have no other loopholes to go through. It is already completely, like, there's a checklist that you have to follow before you can just get certain. Yeah, there's already protocol in place to make sure that the abuse isn't happening. And so, I don't mind if doctors and researchers have questions or concerns, or they have a difference of opinion. They should be able to have that discussion amongst themselves and decide what it is that's best for all of the medical community.
Yes.
I love when people have opinions, whether it's, something that I agree with or not. I think opinions are great. And you should be able to have thoughts and questions, and you should be able to ask those questions and not have the fear of punishment or penalty. So, I mean, if you have questions, that's fine. But, when it comes down to making those concerns into law and protocol is when it gets down to the point where who is this helping, who is this harming, and if it's helpful, then that's great. If it's harmful, I'm not for that. Not for something that's going to harm other people.
Absolutely.
And we have seen that it has been harmful to people.
Keep going.
It's harmful for transgender youth to not get gender affirming care. Gender affirming care isn't just surgery. It is the puberty blockers. It's having your name be recognized. People find that the gender affirming care also encompasses having someone call you by the name that you want to be called, having them call you by the pronouns that you want. And we see that when it comes to gender affirming care, that is more beneficial to a transgender youth than forcing them into their own gender, because that's when we get into the suicide rates and people making decisions that are permanent based on not being cared about, not being listened to, and not being understood.
It's a mental health thing.
Yes.
More than anything.
Yes.
And we all agree on that, but the right likes to swing it that we don't. Do civil liberties such as free speech, bodily autonomy, and due process ever take precedence over party priorities?
Yes, I agree with that. I think party priorities are stupid. Honestly, I am not, yes, I'm running as a Democrat, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to go lockstep into whatever the Democratic Party wants me to do. I have my own issues with the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and all of the parties. There's a real issue with the idea that if you're with one party, that is the party that you go with, and I find it very annoying um, when candidates, when politicians, when actual elected officials uh, go lockstep into exactly what their party has told them to do. So I am not a party priority type of person.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people in Alabama want to demonize the left, but at the same time, like, you're from Alabama, are you
Yeah,
not?
yeah,
How long have you
yeah.
been here?
So I was born here. I grew up in Mississippi because my dad was in law enforcement,
But the
and
South,
so
regardless.
yeah, exactly. In Mississippi, we always say here in Alabama, thank God for Mississippi, because I mean it's about
Yeah.
just as bad
Or
as Alabama.
we'd be at
Yeah,
the bottom.
we
Yeah.
would be 50th if it wasn't for Mississippi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I was born here. I was raised in Mississippi. I graduated high school and immediately came back here because this is where my family is from,
Mhm.
and so I've always considered myself an Alabama girl, and so
But so,
yeah,
you know,
but yeah,
so do you agree that straight ticket voting, choosing candidates solely by party label, undermines critical thinking?
I agree. I agree with that. I do not like the straight party ticket voting that we have here in Alabama. It's just it's an easy way to just fill in one bubble, and then you have no clue.
You have no idea what
Have
that person
no
does,
idea.
what
You
they
have no
believe
idea.
in.
If I asked my mother, so my whole family is conservative, and I, you know, when I first told my mom, like, hey, I'm gonna run for this Senate seat, and I was like, do you know who your state senator is? And she was like, no. And I told her, I said, it's Greg Albritton, and she was like, I've never heard of him. I was like, yeah, I
Yeah,
know,
that's the
I
point.
know. That, and that's the thing, is like we get in this groove of like we have no idea who our elected officials are, and
Because I
it's
mean, you could be
because you
voting
don't.
for a
Yeah,
Republican
yeah,
that thinks that transgender policy is all the way extreme left. You know what I mean? You
yeah,
don't know what these people
yeah,
think, and if
yeah,
you go just based on the straight ticket voting and
yeah,
just fill in a fucking bubble, you have
yeah,
no idea what you're getting, and
yeah,
therefore you have no right to be mad at it, at
yeah,
the outcome.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, if you don't completely vet people like we are today, uh, completely vet people on what they think and what they believe and whether or not they deserve your vote, then what are we doing
yeah,
at the end of the day?
yeah. Then that, I mean, it just means that they didn't earn your vote.
Indeed.
They didn't do anything to earn it. They
Other
just
than
put their
side with
name
a
on. Yeah, they just put
fucking party.
their name on a ballot and put an R next to it.
Yep.
That's all they did. Because if we can get into that, Greg Albritton, he does not have a website. I don't have a website yet either. But I mean, he's been in office since 2012 or
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah.
And he does not have a website. He is not on, I don't think, anything other than Facebook.
I tried to look him up on LinkedIn the
yeah,
other night, and I
yeah,
don't think I could.
yeah.
But
I'm still working on my website, so it is coming, I promise.
I feel like a lot of people in Alabama don't do that for
yeah.
a particular
Yeah.
reason, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've tried to go down that rabbit hole of like,
Yeah.
who is this person? Who is this person?
Yeah.
Who does this for me?
Yeah. It's like,
But
did
it's hard to
Greg
find.
did Greg Albritton come on to the What's Happening Loxley or What's Happening Robertsdale and ask you what your thoughts and opinions were?
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
no, he didn't. I
These
did,
people are
and
not for the.
you know,
They're not for the people.
no, they do not care. They do not care whatsoever.
Unfortunately, today we are not for the people and by the people. We are fucking for the people, but we are by monsters.
Oh yeah.
We are by
Yeah.
people that do not believe the things that you and I
Yeah.
believe. We are governed by people that have way more money and are way too above us to understand what our issues are in day-to-day life and how it actually is for a middle-class person. Should federal law enforcement agencies operate within states without consent or cooperation from local sheriffs or police department?
No, I do not agree with that. I think that I think state law enforcement is able to do their job and able to ask for help when is needed. If it is if a state needs help, the governor can ask for federal assistance. Local law enforcement can ask for federal assistance. There needs to be permission first. We cannot just have the federal government coming in and creating chaos in our streets. We've seen it every day for the past year now. He's been president. I mean, it's happened almost every day that we've seen a new video on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok of just absolute chaos, and it has everything to do with the federal government overstepping their bounds and coming in and doing what local law enforcement can absolutely handle themselves with far less chaos.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right. I mean, if you bring in a federal agency, then you're essentially undermining the police force that we have in our own state.
Yes.
And it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like having two daddies in a household.
Yeah.
That's not against gay
right.
people. I mean,
local law enforcement does not like to be overstepped by the federal government, and I don't agree that the federal government can just come in and do whatever the damn hell they please, and that's just, it's ridiculous.
Well, because there's a checks and balances that needs to happen, right?
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
I mean, we've seen the unfortunate outcomes of when those checks and balances are overstepped, and I don't think that he has any right to do what he's doing, and I don't think that I think he's operating with like on the outskirts of the law. Is he not? Is any?
No.
Is this is legal?
No.
For him to do in Minneapolis? And
no.
whatnot?
No.
That's what I thought.
He has every chance that he's gotten. He has broken the law to do whatever he wants. And I don't even think it's just him. I think it's Stephen Miller. I think it's people that are behind him. I think Stephen Miller is the actual president of the United States right now. I think whatever he wants to do is what Trump is allowing him to
right, left,
do.
it doesn't matter. The Uniparty is coming for your rights.
Kristi Noem. I think that there's a lot more people than just Trump to blame for this. Although Trump is the president, he has the legal right to rein it in, and he's not. And he has no backbone. He has no moral compass. He is allowing things to happen. So he is fully to blame, but there are other people to blame for that as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Do you oppose warrantless mass surveillance, the bulk collection of Americans' communications and data without individualized suspicion?
I do not agree with warrantless surveillance. I think I do know that there are like license plate readers that have been popping up, and I'm not against license plate readers that are able to find certain people that they're looking for, especially within like Amber Alerts and stuff like that. But a full-on surveillance system, I think, would not be ideal.
The problem is that if you give them an inch, they will take a mile.
Oh,
they
yes.
will abuse that system.
Yes,
so
and I understand
that. You can't sit here and say that you support tag readers. I understand that we don't like crime and we don't want to see kids be taken.
Right.
I understand that. But at the same time, if you give them an inch, they will take a mile. And if you let them have surveillance equipment that is going to read our plates and be able to do these XYZ things, then look at Palantir. Are you familiar with Palantir?
A little bit.
It is a system that is weaponized against other countries right now, but it is very easily going to be implemented into illegal citizens of America very soon. So it is an AI driven software-based company that effectively shortens the kill chain. The kill chain is what the military calls the succession of events or succession of questions that they have to ask whether or not this person is this target is an actual criminal or not.
Right.
And they do it based off of social media posts. So this is really scary.
Yeah.
So they do it off of social media posts. If you look at China, they're assigning everybody a social media or like a credit score, so to speak. So if you speak against the state, if you do anything that is without their parameters, if you say anything online, then your credit score goes down, and so that means that you're more effectively a bad target. And so they use AI things to look at every single thing that you've ever posted, every single thing you've ever interacted with, and specifically in Iran and all that kind of stuff. They're looking at people and saying, "Are you one of the Islam or Muslims that are radical?"
Right.
And they use this AI software in order to effectively shorten that amount of time. So it used to be, calling your general, calling whoever, and saying, "Hey, I've got this target." You know what I mean? And then they would spend months planning a assault on this person to take him out because he is for sure a bad guy. There is no doubt within a person's mind, a body of people made this decision to go kill this man.
Right.
Now, the kill chain is all digital, and they can weaponize it and make it to where they can tell if you are a criminal of the state.
Yeah.
In microseconds.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
And so that is the slippery slope that you get into when you allow things like plate readers, when you allow things like anything. The Patriot Act is probably the worst thing that's ever happened to us as far as our freedoms go because of the illegal searches and seizures of property that have happened as a result of it. I mean, that's why you have the whole cannabis, like, I smell weed in the car, I'm searching your whole shit. You know what I mean? And you could see how that's been abused. You could see how many people that's affected and how many lives have been ruined because of that. How many senseless killings because of something, I smell weed. Then they have, and if you believe in Second Amendment, then they have a gun, and then now it's a situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now it's a situation because that's just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. See, so I understand what you're saying. I agree that there is a slippery slope that if we give an inch, they will take a mile. I get that, and I understand that. There has to be some regulation on it to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm not completely against the license plate readers, but I also understand that when we do start surveilling people, that it gets to a point to where we are being controlled and looked at and judged based on every little minute thing. And that's why I think regulation could help in that sense.
Yeah, so we agree.
Regulating, making sure that local law enforcement can't use that other than the parameters of, searching for people or searching for children. I mean, like I said, I am very much in the mindset of whatever helps the most amount of people, I'm for that. So if it's something that could be helpful for keeping kids safe, for actually arresting criminals, then absolutely. But there needs to be some regulation to make sure that it's not just nefarious and getting out of control.
Yeah,